Hello, my name is Mandy Lagerstrom, and I would like to begin with a few questions for you. Would you be interested in a food that helps prevent disease, as well as strengthens your immune system against illness? What about knowing how to break down toxins and eliminate them? Would you be open to the idea that what you eat can have a powerful effect on your mood and even your mental health? Let me introduce you to lactobacillus. Lactobacillus is a bacteria that's very helpful to have in our bodies. Now please don't freak out. You have tons and tons of bacteria in your body and on the outside of your body too. It doesn't matter how many showers you take, bacteria are a part of you. But you need to know that there's harmful bacteria and there's also beneficial bacteria. I want to show you how to tip the scale in your favor. So, what are fermented foods? These are foods that are rich in probiotics. Probiotics actually means life-giving, and we're talking about bacteria. These foods, in and of themselves, are an environment to cultivate helpful bacteria. In fact, another way to indicate that a food is fermented is to say that it is cultured. We're intentionally promoting the growth of lactobacillus in our food. The process of culturing preserves food in its most natural state. It keeps its fiber content and high enzyme and vitamin content. This food is nutritionally dense. The most common fermented foods are vegetables, and in my opinion, the vegetables are the easiest to do and probably the most beneficial. There's also fermented dairy products, grains, and drinks. So, would fermented foods do anything for you? Let's talk about a few symptoms that are signs that malicious bacteria are bossing you around. How about a weak immune system? Is it common for you to fight colds, infections, or do you struggle with allergies? Problems being overweight? How about skin rashes, unhealed sores, fungal toenails, and acne? Do you have recurring yeast infections? What about mood disorders? Have you ever noticed it's called candida tongue, a white covering on the back of someone's tongue, and the associated chronically icky breath? Do you have struggle with diarrhea or constipation? It's a pretty broad spectrum, and those are only a few. And they can all be helped by eating real cultured foods. So the main reason I first started learning about fermented foods is because I was looking for a way to preserve my garden produce in the most nutritionally advantageous way possible. And when I found out about fermented foods and how absolutely easy it is to do that, I was ecstatic. So all you need is clean mason jars and lids, quality salt, good water, and your veggies. First, wash and cut up your vegetables in bite-sized pieces. Put it in your jars, and then make a salt water solution of about 2 to 3 teaspoons per quart of water. Make sure your salt's good high quality, like a sea salt. Now stir it up, dissolve it a little bit, put the lid on it, and let it sit on your counter for 2 or 3 days. We both know that you can do that. Another huge reason that attracted me to fermented foods is that it utilizes the natural bacteria the earth offers. This is really cool to me. Lactobacillus is a soil-based organism, and it thrives on untreated plants, just naturally. Commercial food manufacturers destroy these bacteria through their high heat processing. And you don't have to look very far to see the consequences. We're a disease-ridden culture, starving for nutrition. Well, a few of you might be thinking, well, anthrax is found naturally in the soil too. And you would be right. However, anthrax is seldom found in countries that properly remove cow carcasses from their herds. Typically, anthrax is spread in drought conditions when the cows don't have a lot to eat, so they eat the grasses right down to the soil. and they ingest some dirt along with that. When they ingest the contaminated dirt from an area that a diseased cow had decomposed, then that's how it spreads. Frankly, I'm not too worried about anthrax in my garden or my local farmer's garden. Foods rich in enzymes, vitamins, and probiotics help balance the good and harmful bacterial environment in our digestive systems. Our small and large intestines work in tandem with our immune system and our lymph system. And the main job of the intestines is to, if we think back to 3rd grade, is to absorb particles from what we ingest. And we can choose. We can either give ourselves empty processed calories or high energy, nutritionally dense fuel. Choosing the latter strengthens our system against infections and pathogens. Personally, when I started using cultured food, along with avoiding manufactured sugary foods, I first noticed much clearer skin, and that was really fun. And just the opposite is true too. I can tell when I've eaten refined foods by how my skin reacts. That's just a very constant, reliable indicator for me. Another recent and fun benefit that I enjoyed was this past summer. I was able to get rid of 2 fungal toenails. I'm sorry if it's too much information, but for as long as I can remember, my pinky toenails were ugly and gray and thick. I thought that's just how they were. But in addition to eating fermented foods, I applied oil of oregano on those toenails, and I just watched normal pink toenails grow out and replace the old ones. It was really exciting. Now, there are a lot of supplements out there that claim to be great sources of probiotics. But according to Dr. Mercola, the best way to increase beneficial bacteria is by eating real food, real fermented food. It's interesting to me that every culture on every inhabited continent has historically utilized this process of fermentation to benefit their health and to use food as medicine. For example, Captain Cook, on his second round-the-world voyage, loaded 60 barrels of lacto-fermented sauerkraut on a ship. After 27 months at sea, 15 days before returning home to England, he opened that last barrel and he offered some sauerkraut to Portuguese noblemen who had come on board. Well, they ended up carrying off the rest of the barrel to share with their friends. But this last barrel was perfectly preserved after over 2 years, in spite of the climate changes, in spite of this continual rocking of the ship. That sauerkraut preserves sufficient quantities of vitamin C to protect the entire crew from scurvy. Not one case occurred during that long voyage, even though this disease usually decimated crews on voyages of that length. I hope that you've come to understand the value of fermented foods and have learned that the right kind of bacteria can really seriously impact your health for good. Culturing these bacteria is an easy process that anyone can do. Because lactobacillus is naturally found on garden produce, it seems to me that nature intended to benefit us physically by freely and generously offering this gift. And I feel it's a credit to our intelligence to gratefully accept it.